there, this is Craig Hensley, Texas Nature Trackers biologist with Texas Parks and Wildlife. And I am here in the Corpus Christi area at a special place called Indian Point. And behind me, and to my right, and to my left, are all kinds of fantastic birds. We have herons and egrets, we have shorebirds, we have gulls, we have pelicans, we have ibises, all kinds of really unique birds that spend their winter and some of them their entire year here in the Gulf Coast near Corpus Christi. And today we're going to be looking at these different birds. We're going to be exploring some of their adaptations that they have to be able to be successful in hunting, the habitat that they use, and this ecosystem in general, just how important it is to so many life forms, whether it's birds or other animals. It is really, really valuable and very important. And even in an area where you have 4-lane highways, it still provides all kinds of great habitat if only we just take the time, learn about them, and then protect some of these places so that they can continue to thrive here in Texas. Boys and girls, I'm looking at my hand right now, and I see this thing right here, and you all know this is a thumb. This is one of the best adaptations we humans have. And we've been out here, and I wanted to point that out because think of all the things you can do with your thumb, okay? But out here, birds that we've been watching today don't have thumbs, but they have amazing adaptations, and what, of course, is an adaptation. So if you were here with me right now, I would ask you that question and wait for you to answer it. I'm going to give you a clue as to what it is. An adaptation is something that a plant or an animal has or does that allows them to survive and be successful, okay? For us, this thumb is pretty important for our success. Now, for birds that we've been seeing out here along the coastline, we're seeing birds that are different sizes. They have different lengths of bill. Some of them are very short and stubby. Some of them are very long. In fact, we saw a bird called a curlew that has a bill that's probably this long, and it goes in a big arcing curve. And then we saw a bird called a black-necked stilt whose bill actually is thin and straight. And then I saw an avocet, which has a bill that goes up instead of curved down, and every variation in between. So why are all these birds out here hunting what apparently be in the same, appears to be in the exact same spot? Why are they all different? Why aren't they all just the same? And they've evolved over time to take advantage of different resources that allow them to survive. So each of those different species have what their own job, if you will, which scientists call a niche. And that niche, by having those adaptations of the different structures, shapes of their bill, their different hunting behaviors, different length of feet and legs can also help tell where they can hunt and where they can't hunt along the shoreline. All of those work together to allow that individual bird or that species to be successful, and also to not be hunting the exact same thing everybody around them is hunting. Because we've seen places where we've got 8 or 10 different species of shorebirds, but they're all hunting differently, different behavior. They're using different bill lengths and shapes and sizes, different feet and leg lengths, and in some cases, different colors. We saw a bird out here called well, I call it the bird with the golden slippers. It's a snowy egret. He's got yellow feet. All the other egrets have black feet, or toes, I should say. Why is it that that one has yellow toes? Well, I got to tell you, I don't know the exact answer. I could guess, but I would challenge you all to see if you can find out why the snowy egret has yellow feet and yellow toes, and nobody else in there that's a relative has that characteristic, okay? Now, we also saw a bird that was pure white, beautiful white feathers, but it was called a reddish egret. Now, why would a white bird be called a reddish egret? Well, it turns out there's some of them are white and some of them are reddish. Again, why would that be? Another opportunity for you to dig in and see if you could figure out why would there be the same species have two different, completely different colors. And the other thing about that bird, I have seen a lot of egrets and herons hunting in the past. And most of them stand there very stiff, long legs, long neck, and they wait for a fish or a frog to get close, and then they reach down and they grab it really quick. The reddish egret is crazy. He's walking around, running around, opening his wings and trying to scare the fish to him. And he's a really active hunter, very different behavior. And just based on that adaptation that it uses to catch its food, you can tell a reddish egret from any other bird that's out here on the coastline. Out here at Corpus Christi, out on the water, we've been watching some really great interactions of birds today, from the different hunting behaviors that they have, adaptations of bill shape and size. And we've been just now watching some brown pelicans, enormous birds, wingspans of more than 6 feet or about 6 feet, somewhere in there, longer than I am tall. And they've been out here hunting. In fact, they're still out here hunting with some common loons, by the way. Those loons that nest in Minnesota and Wisconsin are out here hunting fish too, but they do it in a very different way. The loon is adapted, its feet are way back on the back of its body, so they can dive way underwater to find fish and then come back to the surface with their food. The brown pelicans, however, will hunt in a couple of different ways. They've got different adaptations for catching prey. One is they'll go high up in the water and then plunge straight into the water to scoop up fish. Or as these, oh, look at that one coming in. Wow, they're so big. Anyway, oh, gosh. On the loon. Oh, geez, this is awesome. Nature is the greatest thing ever, people. I'm telling you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is where you should spend your time. Anyway, getting back to our topic. The brown pelican is floating out in the water, and they sit there in the water with their head, their beak straight down, because they're using their eyeballs to look under the clear water for fish. And so when they see a fish get close to them, they put their head down under the water. And then a gull knows that they're catching a fish. So the gull's adaptation is to try to steal the fish, a free meal. So it flies and lands right next to the head of the pelican and starts pecking away, trying to get that pelican to release that fish. And that pelican's head is underwater, positioning the fish, presumably, we can't really see it, to get it all the way in its mouth, and then raises its head up. And then you see the big old basket-like lower mandible and the skin there swallow the fish whole. The gull gets nothing. That's a great learned behavior, I'm guessing. Learned behavior by the gull to try to steal the food. Learned behavior by the brown pelican to not let the gull steal the food. Pretty cool stuff. I'm telling you, when you're out here in nature, looking around and just observe, you learn a lot of really cool things. We've been talking adaptations. I'm going to continue to talk about adaptations because they're so important. You can hear birds in the background. Most of them are laughing gulls, but we're surrounded right now by white pelicans and brown pelicans and shorebirds, and every egret and heron imaginable is out here. And speaking of pelicans, let's start with them because I want to talk a little bit about bill adaptations or beak adaptations. And I'm going to start with one of the biggest ones you're ever going to see. This guy right here is a model of what a real white pelican beak would look like. Look how large that thing is. And imagine too, of course, that it would have a big old sack hanging from this lower mandible that would be used as a scoop for scooping up fish in the water. Now let's compare that to a bird that all of you should know. And that bird is right here, this little tiny thing right here. Anybody want to guess what that is? Notice the reddish beak, really thick, heavy bill. This is a seed-eating bill, and it's of a bird that's probably in your backyard. It's known as a cardinal. I'm sure everybody out there has seen cardinals. They have thick, short bills for cracking seeds, pelicans for fishing. Well, let's see. How about if we compare another one? Let's take this one right here. Boy, I wish you were with me here so you could guess along with me. There we go. We've now got a bill that's thick like the cardinals, but it's a much larger bird, but it's got a sharp hook on it. This is actually a model of the skull of an eagle. And of course, eagles are meat eaters, so they need that hooked beak to be able to tear flesh. So again, there's our pelican versus our eagle. Now let's go a little bit different here. Let's hold up another one right here. Now, man, we've got this long pelican. Now we've got a long bill as well, but notice it's very pointed, almost like a dagger or a knife. This is from a heron or an egret. This is actually from a great blue heron, our largest one, but they all have a large bill like this so they can put that bill into the water to catch fish and frogs and things like that. So that's a good comparison there. Not quite as big. And then I'm going to put the pelican down because I've got 2 more bills I want to show you, or 3, I think. Now check this bill out. Man, oh man, this is a weird bill. Look at this. So this is the lower part of the beak or bill. This is the upper one, and it fits just like that. Now, why would a bird have a bill, lower bill, longer than the upper bill? Well, if you are a skimmer, you would have a bill like this. Skimmers actually go through the water, and they have that bill going right along the edge of the water, just like this. And if they touch a fish, they bend their head down, snap the bill closed, and they catch their dinner. So that is from a black skimmer, another bird that lives along the coastline. And then, everybody should recognize this one here. This one is from a duck. Now, here's the lower bill of a duck. Now, it's going to be a little hard to see, but on the edge of the bill of a duck are little comb-like projections. Those comb-like projections are an adaptation so that this bird can grab food underwater, allow the water to run out the sides of the bill, and then keep the food in its mouth so it can clamp down on that food. And so a duck's bill, they all look very similar to that, ducks and geese. And the last one I'm going to show you, right here. Hey, let's do this. So we have a heron. Notice how long it is. Here's another one with a fairly long bill, but not nearly as long. And also you'll notice it's got a little bit of a curve to it, but about the same thickness. But this one actually belongs to a woodpecker, the largest woodpecker in North America, known as the pileated woodpecker. And you all know that woodpeckers have that strong bill for pounding in wood to search for food. They have a very long tongue to capture that food. Once they find an insect in the wood, that tongue comes out, and on this bird, that tongue would extend about as far as its bill. It's actually wrapped around the skull, and they can stick it out. It's sticky, or actually got little bristles on the end to grab the worm, pull it out of the tree and into its mouth. So again, bills that are similar, but are doing very different things. Perfect adaptations for the animals as they need them where they live. Hey, this is Craig here with Texas Nature Trackers, and we are in a really neat ecoregion. We've been exploring waterfowl and all kinds of water birds that live in the Gulf Coast prairies and marshes ecoregion of Texas. And when we think of Texas, a lot of people think of mountains and they think of desert and places like that, but actually here we are surrounded by water along the Gulf Coast. And if we traveled from here across the state, yes, we would get all the way out to the Chihuahuan Desert, so we do have desert. We'd get into the Great Plains where it's all short grass prairie. We could get into the Edwards Plateau where it's big mountains and forests. So there's all kinds, and then tall grass prairie in the central part of the state. There's all kinds of ecoregions and diversity, and the diversity here is fantastic in this ecoregion because it has so much water, it has so much grassland. It's a place for egrets and herons and all kinds of birds to live here year-round or to visit in the wintertime. And in fact, we've actually been watching some real drama here of watching a peregrine falcon, which is a bird that when I was younger was actually an endangered species. Now it lives here in this part of the state, and it was actually hunting everything from ducks to shorebirds to, yeah, even those guys, black-necked stilts, they're upset about something. And we even watched it hunt an egret, which looks like a bird much larger than a peregrine falcon. But the peregrine falcon has so many great adaptations for hunting birds, and that's what it does. And it can fly, as you may know, over 200 miles an hour in a dive to get to its prey where it knocks it out of the sky. but we've been watching and actually chasing all of these birds. So if you see birds rise up behind me, it may be because that peregrine falcon, which is right now sitting right over there behind the camera, may come and make another attack on some birds. So one of the other things I wanted to mention, in these diverse ecoregions that we have, these meet the needs. These have all of the needs that the habitats for all of these different birds that live here. And of course, there's alligators and all kinds of mammals and insects and butterflies and wildflowers. Everything that's down here is adapted to this part of the state. So when you leave this part of the state and go to another part of the state, you may see relatives that look similar, but they'll be different species because they're adapted differently, whether it's to the soils or to the climate conditions or where they nest. So it's pretty fascinating to see the diversity across the state of Texas, and I love it. One of the things we've been noticing out here as we're studying these birds along the Gulf Coast, prairies and marshes ecoregion, are that a lot of them have different color combinations. And of course, some of them, like the black-necked stilts, both the males and the females pretty much look alike. But when we look at waterfowl, for example, whether it's a shoveler or a mallard or a pintail or a blue-winged teal, one of the things we notice is that the males are usually generally brightly colored, really dramatic colors that say, hey, here I am, everybody see me. And then we have the females who are tan, kind of muted colors. And when we think about it, is why would those birds be so different? Well, the males, of course, want to advertise themselves to the girls and say, hey, I'm really a good-looking guy here. And also they want to tell the other males to, hey, stay away from my territory. This is my place. This is where you need to leave. And then the females, on the other hand, for the most part, they're doing the nesting. So they're not only laying the eggs, they're actually sitting on the nest. And you don't want to be brightly colored, advertising to the whole world that here I am, if you're trying to protect those eggs and then later the babies. So we'll see examples of those birds where the males are brightly colored, the females are not brightly colored. Think about birds in your neighborhood that do the same thing. So it could be a cardinal. The males are bright red, the females are kind of a muted brown. There's a little bit of red, a little bit of pink in the female. They're a beautiful bird, but it's not quite the same, so that they can sit on a nest and be better hidden. Other birds, the males and the females look alike, but maybe that's an adaptation that they have because of where they nest. They don't need to look so dramatically different. Anyway, when you explore the natural world, you find all kinds of wonderful adaptations for the survival of these species, and they've been around a long time, so they must be doing something right. Behind me, that would be the Gulf Coast. And one of the things that we've been exploring down here are all the different kinds of birds that you find in the Gulf Coast. And it turns out it wasn't that long ago in my lifetime that there were birds that live here now in abundance that everybody's used to seeing, that they weren't able to find them. They were in very small numbers. They had actually declined quite a bit. And in a couple of cases, they had become endangered species. And I'm talking about the brown pelican and the peregrine falcon. Because of contaminants that we were adding to the environment, they were losing their population, just like the bald eagle, because the chemicals got into their bodies and they couldn't produce eggs that were viable. But after we changed those behaviors and we banned those chemicals, we watched as the bald eagle became first a threat, went from endangered to threatened to now it's all over the state of Texas nesting. There's an estimated 300 nests around the state. People are finding them still, new nests each year. Then you have peregrine falcons who are now have come back in good numbers. We watched them chasing around birds, trying to get some food this morning, and then brown pelicans, and they're out now hunting in lots of places here along the Gulf Coast. So those species were able to be recovered because we decided to make changes to enhance and protect them so that they could recover. Because even as beautiful as this is, it's a great ecosystem, it's a great habitat for lots of things. We still have to keep it clean enough and healthy enough so that those organisms can actually thrive and be able to survive long term. Hey, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. If you want to learn more, check out the links in the description below. And again, thank you so much. Get out and explore the natural world. You will not regret it. Craig signing off.